ladies and gentlemen. We're so happy to have you here today. My name is Leilani Freeman, and I'm a volunteer with Chisago Agewell. We love that you come to our Dine and Discover event on a lovely day where we have sunshine and everything's going to melt, and we're not going to have any snow for celebration of the lakes, which is this weekend. But we love that you're here. We're going to get started because we have a lot to see and hear and do. And I have to tell you that this is our largest registration we've ever had for one of our events at this site. And we also offer it at North Branch and Rush City. So thank you all for making that happen. How many of you are attending this event for the first time today? Oh, good. So we always love newcomers, and we welcome you to return again. I'm going to take a moment at this time to introduce a special guest we have here today, and that is the Director of the Board of Directors for Chisago Agewell, Victoria Svoboda, and she wants to give a special welcome. And please welcome Victoria.
Good morning, everybody. Afternoon. I'm Victoria Svoboda. Thank you, Leilani, for sharing. Now I have big shoes to fill, right? Anyways, I just wanted to share with you, again, thank you so much for being here today. Again, all of this, the Agewell Coalition consists of 30 plus agencies and the community members to put this together. You know, that's our coalition. But also our board of directors. We have board of directors that meet every 6 times a year, and we have some committees. So basically, I wanted to share with you, maybe you're newly retired, maybe you are still in your professional world trying to figure out something that you could be a part of that's bigger than yourself. Maybe you live or work in this community and you wanted to do some volunteering. So I wanted to share with you a little bit. We do have at least 2, if not maybe 3 spots on our board. You know, we have Pam in the back, and Molly, Leilani, and Steve, and Kathy, and I'm not sure who I'm missing. But it takes a village to create something like this, but all of us have different gifts and different skills to make this happen. So if that speaks to you in any way, you can reach myself, Leilani, and other board members that might be here if you wanted to do something to be a part of our Agewell. Again, that time commitment is we meet 6 times a year. We meet 6 times a year, and then we have little check-ins on those opposite months just to see how things are going. And again, everyone has a gift, and everyone would love to, whoever wants to share their strengths with us is welcome. So thank you so much, and enjoy the program.
Well, not only do we have positions on our board, which meets 3 times a year, or 6 times a year, we also have positions on our event committee, which helps plan this event and our annual Agewell Expo in October. So please do take your time to learn more about us, and I'll put these sign-in sheets, interest sheets out for you on the table, at the resource table in the back of the room, and you can sign in. Victoria's standing by the resource table. So we're going to put these out there for you. And you can express interest to do any number of jobs ranging from volunteer. You can all just sign on this sheet and say, I want you to send me a reminder before one of your events, email reminder, and we'll do that. So it has a number of choices for you. We love new people all the time. So back to what we're here about today. Chisago Agewell, as Victoria told you, is a not-for-profit organization. It exists to provide information and resources that help older adults and their caregivers live well and age well in their home and community. The Agewell Coalition fosters collaboration through a variety of other organizations that serve older adults. As she said, more than 30. You will see examples of that collaboration here today. For example, Chisago County Public Health has an information table, and also Chisago Lakes Community Education has an information table. They're just one of the many Agewell Coalition members providing resources for all of you, for things to see, do, volunteer in, attend, social activities, resources when you need help to find housing, when you need help to find help to stay in your home, when you need help if you're a caregiver. Our focus is not only older adults who are looking for things to do or looking for services, it's for caregivers of older adults. So we view ourselves as a helpful central resource of information for all of you. We host Dine and Discover programs like this one 3 times a year, and the next one will be in May. I'll tell you that before we leave today. And our annual Age Well Expo held in October at Chisago Lakes High School. Chisago Age Well relies entirely on grants, local donations, and the help of volunteers. For those who are able, we welcome financial support in the form of donations or event sponsorships to help us continue programs like this. And donations to Chisago Age Well are tax deductible. Now, how many in this audience think they view themselves as a caregiver for an older adult? A few. Well, caregiving takes many forms. It can be as intense as 24-hour round-the-clock care, or it can be as simple as offering a helping hand to a neighbor who needs a driver to go to an appointment or to pick up groceries. So we want you to know that we also serve caregivers, and you can refer to Chisago Age Well's website and find resources that are among our coalition's members that may help you. Before we begin our speakers, on your table you should have an evaluation form. It's a white sheet of paper, and we value at the end of this event that you complete the evaluation form because we read every single one, and we welcome your ideas, suggestions, and we plan our future events based on your input and your evaluations. Our topic today is self-care as we grow older. Practical pointers for food and exercise for older adults and caregivers. So now, after my description of what constitutes a caregiver, any more caregivers? Who are the caregivers? Yes. Caregiving takes many forms. You're going to hear from 2 speakers today. Doctor of Physical Therapy, Carol Levitt-Mueller of M Health Fairview, and Sarah Praman, a dietitian and nutritionist with Chisago County Public Health. I've told you about the information tables where you can pick up things after the presentations. Now on to our speakers. We do ask that you when they begin speaking, that you hold your questions until the end of the program. We encourage you to write questions down on the notepads provided at the table and ask them later. That way we can move ahead, because we have to be efficient. We have another program today in Rush City at 3 o'clock. Thank you. Our first presenter is registered dietitian and nutritionist Sarah Praman. Sarah is a licensed dietitian who is also the coordinator of Chisago County Women's, Infants, and Children's Program here. Before joining WIC, as it's called, Sarah spent 3 years in the food service industry, where she honed her skills in cooking and meal planning, experience that now helps her bring practical, real-world advice to the families she serves. A self-proclaimed food enthusiast, Sarah loves to cook and share simple, healthy meals that anyone can enjoy. She believes in the healing power of food and is a strong advocate for a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Sarah says a quote from author Michael Pollan sums up her philosophy: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. We sought Sarah's advice about a replacement for our usual cookie for dessert, and I hope you enjoyed the tasty tidbits of dried fruit, roasted nuts, and dark chocolate, in honor of Valentine's Day, of course. And I'm sure Sarah can explain to you the value of dark chocolate. Sarah, please join us.
Hi, thank you for having me today. So I'm going to be talking about Okay. Hello? Can you hear me now? Okay, well, if it stays. Oh. Do you think I should just use the mic? Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry, I don't have a loud voice. So I'm going to be talking about practical meal prep. So today I was going to go over meal prepping techniques and even give you some healthy recipe ideas. First of all, I just like to explain the reasons to meal prep. Why would we meal prep? I feel like a lot of my families that I work with, they want to meal prep and plan their meals because they want to eat healthier. I find that when we have a plan in place, I find that we depend less on convenience foods and eat out less when we have a plan in place for our meals and able to prep some of it ahead of time. I also find that meal prepping can help save us time. I know there's probably days where you're super busy, and those days you're maybe more likely to eat out. But by meal prepping and planning ahead, even on your busy days, you can still have a healthy meal for you and your family. Okay. Okay. And I was going to say the time thing is probably my biggest motivator for myself to meal prep. As a full-time working mother, I find I don't have a lot of time during the week. And so I find it very important for myself to meal prep ahead so I can provide a healthy meal for myself and my son. Another thing to consider is by meal prepping, it will actually help save you time. And I know as we get older too, we don't have as much energy and maybe motivation to cook. So if you don't have to spend as much time in the kitchen, it's always a plus to be able to not utilize as much energy into cooking if possible, but still have healthy meals. Also, meal prepping can help save us money. If we have a plan in place before we go shopping, we're less likely to go down every aisle and then impulse buy. When we have a plan in place, we just buy what we need, and then at the end of the week, hopefully, we'll have a lot less food waste. So I like to show you a picture here. So this is called My Plate. Has anyone heard of My Plate or seen this before? Yeah. So this is what replaced My Pyramid that they used to teach. And they started My Plate in 2011, so it's been around for like 15 years now. But this is what I like to base my meals off of and how I try to eat most of my meals. And then as you'll see later too, the example meal prep and recipes I have in this presentation are mostly based off My Plate recommendations. So the recommendations are to try to fill your plate half with fruits and vegetables, quarter grain, and a quarter protein. And I find that My Plate is just a quick way to look at your plate to see how you're doing. There's no measuring involved. It's just something you can do quickly to see, how am I doing? Could I add more vegetables to my plate? So how do I start? So if you're interested in meal prepping, where do we start? So I always suggest to look at what you already have at your house. So check your inventory. Check to see what you have in the fridge, the freezer, the pantry. And as you're looking at what you have, start thinking about what sort of meals could I make with my inventory that I have. So that's the next step, planning your meals. Making a list of meals that you can make to help utilize what you have. I always suggest to try to plan around 3 to 4 meals a week. I find if you plan your meal for every day of the week, it gives yourself a lot less flexibility. Um, Life happens sometimes, and sometimes we're not always home when we plan. So I find that if we plan at least 3 to 4 meals a week, we still have a little bit of flexibility to utilize our leftovers, so we have little food waste at the end of the week. So after you've planned your meals, making a list of what you need to complete those meals before you go shopping. I find that having a list in place before you go to the store will not only help save you time, but hopefully save you money with less impulse buying. And then the next thing is looking at your week and scheduling a prep day for yourself. And this could look different for everyone. Everyone's schedule is different. I know for me, I more have my prep days on the weekend because I'm busy working during the week. So I'm more focused on prepping on Saturday and Sundays, but your schedule could be a little bit more flexible, looking at days where you don't have much planned. So set aside some time to prep some foods ahead of time to make it easier on your busy days. So when you're thinking about meal prep, this is a picture that people will typically think about when they look thinking about meal prepping. Um, it's basically this picture is you're making a big batch of the same meal and then portioning out into individual containers, and basically you would eat the same meal every day. And when I talk about meal prep to my clients, this is the idea that most people have about meal prep. And it is a way to meal prep, but I do find it doesn't offer a lot of variety. I guess when I first started talking about meal prep, did anyone think of this picture here? I'm not gonna lie, I used to meal prep this way. It provided me a healthy meal. It helped save me money. But was I satisfied? Not really. It didn't really offer me a variety. Because as you can see, usually Monday, the first one, I was pretty pumped about eating it. I was very excited. It's a healthy meal. Tuesday, maybe not as excited because I already had a Monday. Wednesday, Thursday, pretty over it. And I don't even have one for Friday because at that point, I don't even want to look at this meal anymore. I was probably just ordering a pizza at that point. Has anyone been there? Yeah. So I was just going to go over another way to meal prep that not only to help provide you with healthy meals and save you time, but offer a variety within your week. So if you're on the fence about meal prepping, planning, not quite sure if you want to invest in it quite yet, one thing you could look at doing first is just simply preparing seasonings and sauces ahead of time to add flavor and variety to your meals. So this is the first step you could focus on if you're not quite sure about meal planning. And I have recipe examples here in the next 2 slides. So I like to call these flavor boosters. So basically how these work, I actually make these ahead of time so that it's something I can easily pull out, use in my meals to add extra flavor and variety. So I've included 3 of my favorite seasonings that I make for me and my family. I included a taco seasoning because I know for me, we like to do Taco Tuesday and we do a Mexican themed meal almost every week. So I find this one is a nice one to have on hand. I also have a ranch seasoning that I use pretty often. I like to add it to vegetables. I find it actually helps to increase my vegetable intake if I add a little bit of these seasonings. It's also really good on potato dishes. And then the last one, I know it's kind of sounds a little weird, but it's called Magical Mystery Mix. But this is the one that my family pulls out pretty often to put on vegetables. Like if we're just doing a simple dinner, maybe just a simple steamed vegetable. I find that when we sprinkle a little magical mystery mix on them, we tend to eat a little bit more vegetables. Another thing to look at to add flavor to your meals is sauces. So I've included 3 of my favorite sauce recipes. And sauces are another good way to add variety to your meals. I have a stir fry sauce, a tahini dressing sauce, which I find is very versatile. I can use it on a variety of different meals. And then, of course, I included a homemade hummus recipe that I often use to pair with vegetables as a dip. But these are nice too because these you can prep ahead, make in bulk, freeze them so that you have a healthy homemade sauce ready to go. I also find too as we get older, we tend to produce less saliva and foods can seem drier. So to help with that, I would always recommend to add a sauce to your meal just to help give it more moisture. So if you're ready to start meal prepping, there is a technique called ingredient prepping. So this is a little bit different than the other meal prep I mentioned in the beginning. Instead of making a big batch of the same meal, instead you would prepare similar like ingredients in bulk that can be used to create different meals. So what does this look like? Typically in ingredient prepping, there's 3 components. You would prep a protein, grain starch, and a vegetable. And the next few slides, I've included a meal plan, prep plan that I will show you, and then you can even take home and try yourself. So in my example of this, I decided to make sheet pan chicken as my protein. And as you can see, I made a pretty good amount of 3 pounds. And just a reference to, I made all these recipes in mind for 1 to 2 people. So 3 pounds of chicken, I'm actually going to be using in 4 different meals later on the week that I will show you. So the idea is that you prep a bulk amount of this protein ahead of time that you can add to make different meals throughout the week, which I'll show you. So the next thing I prepped, I decided to make roasted vegetables. I thought, well, I'm already turning on the oven, taking the time to preheat the oven. I want to see if I can put more in the oven to be more efficient with my time. So I decided to make roasted vegetables. And as you could see, I made a pretty good amount of vegetables because we're, trying to follow my plate recommendations. So I made about 10 cups at one time that I roasted. So this is about 2 13 by 18 sheet pans that I put in and made all at once. And then the last thing that I prepped is rice. So I, in this recipe, I have you making it on the stove because my idea was, well, when you're cooking the chicken and the vegetables, you can go ahead and make the rice on the stove at the same time. And these are basically what you would do on your prep days. I always call them the big ticket items that would be maybe harder to do on your busy days to try to do them on your prep days. So what can we make out of these 3 ingredients? So my first one, let's call this Monday's meal. I made chicken, rice, and vegetables. And in this recipe, I have you reheating them on the stove. But, if you'd rather, you could always microwave them too if you're don't have much time. And then I also put down to drizzle with a sauce for, another boost of flavor. And so I always suggest to maybe look at those flavor boosters. And when I did this meal plan, I used the tahini dressing, and I thought it paired pretty well. I also liked the ranch seasoning as well. It seemed to give it good flavor. The next meal, let's call this our Tuesday meal. Since I like to do Taco Tuesday, I decided to do a Mexican themed meal. So I made a chicken burrito bowl. So I used the chicken and the rice in this meal. I also added a few other ingredients to give it more variety. I added onion, avocado, tomato, and for the beans and corn, I used canned beans and frozen corn just because during the week I don't have a lot of time. But I had a lot of my big food prepped already, like the chicken and rice. So I didn't have to worry about making those. So it's more about just cutting up some of these extra ingredients to help save me time. The next meal I decided to make was a stir fry. So this is a chicken and rice stir fry, and I used the three main ingredients: chicken, rice, vegetables. And you may be thinking, this is the same ingredients that you had on Monday. But actually, because I used the tahini dressing on Monday, I paired this meal with the peanut butter stir fry sauce. So it's something to think about. Just to add more variety to your meals, just using a different sauce on the same foods can make it a whole different meal. And then the last meal I made was a chicken and rice soup. And I intentionally made soup at the end of the week because I find soup is a great way to utilize your leftovers. So whatever rice, chicken, vegetables you have left, just throw it in the soup. And then that way you have less risk of something going bad or not being able to utilize it at the end of the week, which will also help save you money. And if you do like these prep techniques and you want more examples, I recommend to look at a book called Cook Once, Eat All Week by Joy Cassie Garcia. Her whole book is based off of this premise of prepping three things and then making different meals out of the week. So if you like more examples, I recommend to check that book out, and I have seen it at the library. So if you look at the library first before you invest in it. Yeah, and it's also, I have all my resources listed at the end of the PowerPoint too with the books I'm recommending. So if you're thinking, well, that's a lot to prep three things, well, let's look at another way to prep. Let's look at just prepping one thing. So this technique is called a one component meal prep, where basically you're focusing on just one meal component that can be used in multiple meals. So what does this one look like? So I decided my one component would be hummus. So this is all I made on my prep day. And you can see it's a pretty good amount of hummus I made. It's about 4 cups. And that's one thing to think about too when you're using any your kitchen gadgets. Like when I mentioned, like when I turn my oven on, I try to utilize it as most efficiently as I can by filling it. And I think of the same thing with my food processor because, first of all, I don't like cleaning my food processor. It's kind of a hassle. So when I use it, I try to fill it. And what I do, if I'm making more than I actually will need that week, I'll just freeze the rest. Because then that will limit my time of having to bring out my food processor and cleaning it again. So something to think about when you're using your kitchen gadgets. So what can you make with hummus? So there's the traditional vegetable hummus platter you can make, which has raw vegetables, and I paired it with some pita wedges and using the hummus as dip. And then the next meal I made out of it, you can actually, the way I planned it is if you have any leftover vegetables from the hummus platter, you can cut these up and add it to a salad. So this way you can utilize any leftover vegetables the next day and just put it on some greens, make a salad, and you can make a really easy hummus dressing, the hummus you prepared. So it doesn't take very long because you already have your base component made already. So it's more about just adding a few ingredients to make your own healthy homemade hummus. And then this meal actually pairs well with the next meal, pasta. So you can actually make a really good pasta sauce out of hummus. In my family, and I make this one quite a bit. And if you're wanting to add more vegetables to be more My Plate compliant, a lot of times what I'll do, I'll add a bag of frozen mixed vegetables to this one to help increase the vegetable content. And one thing too, I always like to mention, just for me anyway, when I do any sort of pasta dishes, I actually boiled my noodles the night before just because I don't have a lot of time during the week. And so I just had to worry about after my noodles were cooked the next day, I just had to assemble it all together. So thinking of things that way too, kind of looking ahead at your next meal that you have planned and saying, what can I do to make my life easier the next day? I try to save more simple prep tasks for the week that I can easily do during the week. And then I save I call them big ticket items, my prep items more for my prep days when I have a little bit more time. And that way you can spread out your prep a little bit more so that you don't have to stand for long periods of time in the kitchen. And the last meal is a Mediterranean bowl, because when I think of hummus, a lot of times I think of a Mediterranean dish, so I decided to make a bowl. And with this, I use the hummus as kind of the dressing. I have you kind of thin it out with a little water and then just kind of drizzle it over the bowl. But you could also probably just have a dollop of hummus on top if you'd rather do that. In this one, I have couscous in the recipe. And again, I actually pre-boiled my couscous the night before, so that all I had to worry about was assembling the bowl and cutting up some of the other vegetables that I put with the bowl. So I'm hoping that with going through some of these meal techniques will give you some inspiration to do some meal prepping on your own and maybe even add some of these healthy recipes to your meal plans. And a couple other things I wanted to show you. So the next two slides, I have a list of food resources. Because I know how it is with food costs rising and maybe some of you on a fixed income. I know food budget can be pretty tight, so I thought I'd also include some food resources that you can look at to maybe help save you some money on food. They have a brochure of the same food resources in the back too at the public health table, so feel free to take one if you're interested. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, I don't know about you, but I got a lot of good ideas. And I plan to incorporate them. Now we're going to move on to our second speaker. And some of you may have heard her before. Dr. Carol Mueller-Levitt spoke at our chronic pain Dine and Discover last year, and she was so popular at this site, and she didn't speak at our other sites, so we brought her back because people just raved about her talk, and I look forward to her talk today. Dr. Levitt is a doctor of physical therapy with more than 25 years of experience, specializing in rehabilitation following neurological disorders and post-surgical recovery. She believes in supporting people as they build confidence in their bodies. She will share exercise tips for us to stay flexible and strong as we grow older. Dr. Levitt, please greet her.
Can I just unplug it? Perfect. Thank you. I am happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I am honored. Growing older every day. Unlike fine wine, scotch, and bourbon, we don't always get better with age. We often become smarter and wiser, but we don't very often become stronger and healthier unless we are very intentional about what we do. The only natural result of aging is a loss of muscle mass. Everything else that we experience, high blood pressure, heart disease, osteoarthritis, diabetes, even Parkinson's and ALS and multiple sclerosis and recovery after a stroke are all multifactorial, and that means there are many causes. Some of them are genetic, some of them are environmental, some of them are lifestyle, which is exercise and nutrition. Sugar often plays a big piece in that one. We cannot stop aging, but we can care for ourselves over time. And that's what we need to do. I think words are powerful, and caring for things often require, they all have a price, either money, time, or effort. If we value something, we care for it, and we invest more in whatever that thing is that we value. We need to value ourselves. You need to figure out what you want in your life over time. You need to figure out what the value is of what you want. So saying that you want to be strong and healthy is great, but that's not specific enough. You have to really be able to identify very specific things. Do you want to live independently in your own home? Do you want to avoid a nursing home? Do you want to participate in community activities? Do you want to be able to walk up the steps into a coffee shop that's located in a Victorian house? So there are steps that you need to navigate. Do you want to travel? Do you want to be able to lift your carry-on suitcase into the overhead bin in the airplane? Do you want to be able to carry your own luggage? Do you want to be able to spend time with family and friends? Do you want to dance more than one dance at a grandchild's wedding? What do you really want in your life? We need to take care of our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. So taking care of your body is nutrition and exercise. Sarah gave us great options for meals and how to prepare them. One of my biggest focuses on nutrition is fueling for exercise. So one of the things that our bodies need in order to participate in exercise is protein. We almost always need more protein than we get as we grow older. We need to care for our minds, and that means that we need to have cognitive challenges. So maybe crossword puzzles or Sudokus or playing card games or learning something new is a great way to challenge our minds. We need to decrease worry and anxiety as much as we are able. We need to rest and really plan to have good quality sleep when we rest. And we need to support our soul or our spirit. For many people, that's community engagement and spending time with friends and family. For other people, and for a lot of people, it is having some kind of a spiritual practice that really supports our soul. My wheelhouse is exercise, strength, and balance. Our bodies are made to move. Some of our bodies have worked harder in our past than others. Some of our bodies have been treated more roughly than others. Some of our bodies have been sick and injured more than others. And some of it is not 100% the result of our own choices. We have the body we have, and we work with the body that we have. There are tremendous benefits to exercise. There are immediate benefits, short-term benefits, and long-term benefits. The first immediate short-term benefit of exercise is a decrease in blood sugar. After we eat, we naturally get an increase in our blood sugar. And oftentimes the blood sugar goes to our muscles. If we do some kind of physical activity after eating, going for a walk, or maybe even doing a few squats, which we'll do later, that helps our muscles to use the blood sugar, and if it is not used, it gets stored as fat. So exercise has an immediate benefit for controlling blood sugar. Exercise can improve the symptoms of depression. There's really good research that shows this. Regular exercise every day, even starting with 5 minutes, can improve the symptoms of depression. One of the reasons that exercise improves symptoms of depression is that exercise releases the neurotransmitter dopamine. Dopamine is critical for mood regulation, for motivation, for memory, and is released during exercise. Dopamine is also released during pleasurable activities. For example, people get addicted to things that give them a dopamine release. Gambling, pornography, shopping, all kinds of things give us dopamine releases, and our body really likes that. Exercise is a great way to get a dopamine release. A more longer-term benefit of exercise is improved energy in the long run. When you first start exercising, you're going to be more fatigued because your body is burning more calories than you're accustomed to. But over time and with consistent exercise, you will find that you have more energy, but a better word is probably more stamina and endurance, so that you can do 6 errands in one day without going home to take a nap in between. Or you can do more activities. And so the increase in energy is very often more endurance and stamina. Our brains are amazing. Exercise also produces BDNF. It's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It is a protein that protects our brains. So there is this is a relatively recent discovery, like probably 15 or 20 years only, that proves that not only does physical work flood our brains with oxygen-rich blood, but it also produces the BDNF, which protects our neurons and the connections, so it can improve symptoms of dementia, it can improve symptoms of Parkinson's disease and ALS and multiple sclerosis, and even after a stroke. You can get benefits from regular exercise. Regular exercise is really daily activity. You can go for a walk, you can do jumping jacks. Your jumping jacks may look different than they did when you were 20 years old, but they are still your version of a jumping jack. You can use stationary equipment, you can go to an exercise class, you can go to a gym. Oh yeah, and one of the biggest things that I neglected earlier today is bone density. Bone density is so important because as we age, we lose bone mass, we lose muscle mass. 50% of everyone over 60, at least 50%, has some kind of a fracture. A hip fracture, a wrist fracture, a spinal compression fracture. So look at the table. Half of you are going to have a fracture if you haven't already. So strengthening our muscles supports our bones, and then we can minimize our risk of fracture and ending up in a nursing home. fractures kill, hip fractures especially, are very hard on women, especially. And so very, very often women don't return to their previous level of activity after a fracture. In order to be successful with daily exercise, you need to schedule it. A lot of people are most successful if they schedule exercise in the morning, because then they can get it done and check it off their list and get it out of the way. And then you don't have to worry about feeling guilty in the afternoon. Oh, I haven't done my exercises yet. Or at the end of the day, oh, I'm too tired to do my exercise. The other way to be really successful with exercise is to have an exercise partner. It is a lot harder to tell another person, no, I'm not going to exercise today, than it is to tell yourself, oh, I'm just too tired to exercise. So find a partner. If you don't have a partner to exercise with, go to an exercise class and make a new friend, because that makes you much more successful in continuing with your daily exercise. You need to fuel your body for exercise, and that is where primarily protein and also carbohydrates come in. Protein is essential for building muscle and supporting your body, and carbohydrates are essential for long cardiovascular exercise, so long walks. Both of them are essential, and you really need to balance and figure out your protein intake and your carbohydrate intake. Some of the recommendations for protein, if you are exercising and strengthening, is 80 to 100 grams of protein at least. One of the recommendations that is out there is 1.8 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you are, and we have to do this because it's easier from a math standpoint, if you are about 130 pounds, that's about 60 kilograms, so you are looking at 120 grams of protein a day, which is a lot. So figure out how much protein you're getting, and that is where you start. We must fuel our bodies for exercises, especially women, We all have a cortisol release in the morning when we wake up. The cortisol is what gets us out of bed in the morning. Men's bodies are different than women's, so men often, their cortisol will drop just over time. Women need to eat some food, and especially protein, in the morning to help decrease their cortisol level. And it's really not good for women to exercise when they haven't eaten all night long, because our cortisol level stays high, because our brain thinks, oh my gosh, she's starving. She's doing all this exercise, but she's starving. And so it doesn't calm down, and it doesn't allow us to really build muscle because our cortisol level is too high. You don't have to eat a ton in the morning. You can get by with 8 to 10, maybe up to 15 grams of protein in the morning. And so a hard-boiled egg is about 7 grams of protein. A 1 ounce slice of cheese, depending on the kind of cheese, is about 7 grams of protein. And a 1 ounce slice of cheese is not very much. So a hard-boiled egg and a piece of cheese gives you 14 grams of protein, and then you can go to your exercise class or you can go to your gym. 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, or maybe it's just a half a cup of cottage cheese, is about 13 grams of protein. That's not a lot of food in a half a cup of cottage cheese. And then Greek yogurt is always has more protein than regular yogurt. And so look at your labels. Oftentimes just a small cup or less of Greek yogurt will give you 13 to 15 grams of protein. So it's not a lot of food, but it's something for your body to know that it's getting nutrition, and then it can perform the exercise. And like Sarah said, real food, start looking at labels. If there are ingredients on the label that you can't pronounce and you don't know what they are, they're not food. So find something that is food or has at the very least fewer ingredients. Figure out what you're getting in a day from a protein standpoint. Look at labels because sugar is in everything. Sugar is in things that ought not have sugar in them. So figure out what you got. Do your best to minimize the sugar or cut it out because that causes other problems. Sugar substitutes aren't great either because then your brain thinks, oh, there's sweet, there's sweet, there's sweet coming. And then people tend to forage because their brain is looking for sugar because a sweet taste came in. So oftentimes the sugar substitutes trigger us to eat more because our brain is telling us that we need sugar, we need that quick burst of energy that we get from sugar. So sugar substitutes are not always the greatest thing either. Read your labels, make sure you can pronounce the ingredients and you know what they are. Exercise. The best time to start exercising was 35 years ago. The next best time is today. So I have some handouts for you. Can I have someone help pass them around? If you're willing, we're going to do 3 strengthening exercises and 3 stretches. They're easy. Well, they're simple. They're simple exercises, and we modify them for where you are today because everybody's body is different, and you have to start with the body you have, and that's the body you have today. So the first one we're going to do is a squat, and then we're going to do a push-up, and then we're going to do a heel raise. I love push-ups, and the reason I love push-ups is I think they are empowering. It is really obvious when you are getting stronger because you can do more push-ups. Even if you add 1 push-up every 3 days, by the end of the week, you will have done more than what you did at the beginning of the week. So I love push-ups, but we will modify them so push-ups can be modified so that anybody can do them. And then the heel raise is for our calf muscles. Calf muscles are essential for quick movements so you can catch your balance and you remain on your feet. And then we'll do stretches for the front of our thighs, the back of our thighs, and our calf muscles. Are you ready? So the first one, you need to stand up and put your chair, so the back of the chair is at the table. And then, Leilani, do I need the, yeah, right. Hello, can you, there we go, now it's on. So if I do the exercises here, can half of you see me? Some of you already know these exercises. I know a couple of you know these exercises. So the first one is a squat. So the chair is behind up to the table so it doesn't scoot away from you. And then you're going to stand about 12 inches away from the chair, maybe 10. Your arms are going to go out in front of you because your arms are a counterbalance. And then you lower your butt to touch the chair, and then you stand up. It's important to just touch the chair and not sit. If the chair is too low, you get a higher chair, or you put a pillow or 2 on the chair. So arms go out in front of you because that's your counterbalance because you really have to stretch your butt back, and then you stand up. Okay? 10 is your target. You should feel the muscles in the front of your legs working when you do this, and really work on stretching your butt back into the chair. Nice job. Are you ready for push-ups? Sure. So push-ups are on the table. We're going to start doing a push-up on the table. If the table is too low, you can go to a wall and do a push-up on the wall. So move your chairs. And make sure that someone is across the table from you so the table doesn't move. And then you step back from the table about 20 inches, maybe up to 24. So you have to step back a ways. There you go. And then you're going to think about bending your elbows and having your belly touch the table, not your chest. So if your belly doesn't touch the table, you need to get back further. Perfect. Nice job. Bending elbows, bend your elbows. Go down as far as you can lift yourself back up. Yes. Up against the wall. Yep. So about an arm's length away from the wall. And then you bend your elbows and your face comes to the wall. And you push yourself away. So you can certainly try the wall if the table is too low. Legs stay straight. Yep. And your butt stays tucked in. So you are like a board. Always hold your tummy tight. You need to support your internal organs. So you don't have to hold your tummy at 100% effort. You just need to bring it in a little bit off the inside of your shirt. Because you have to support your internal organs. Because for some of us, they're hanging out outside of our pants. If the, pardon? How many can you do, Leilani? Yeah. A 10 is your target, but that does not work for everyone. Figure out what you can do. And then tomorrow, if you're so sore you can't move, well, then you did too many. If you can't feel anything tomorrow, well, then you didn't do enough. And then the next one is heel raises. Yes, a kitchen counter is a little bit higher. A bar is even higher. Yep, and or you can always go to the wall. Or you could do that. Because that would get the sugar from the beer out of your muscles so it doesn't go into fat. Tiptoes. So the next one is going up onto your tiptoes. So you get to hang on to something because this is not a balance exercise. So stand on 2 feet, go up onto your tiptoes, and come down slow. And up onto your tiptoes, and come down slow. If 2 feet is pretty easy and you can come up nice and high, stand on 1 foot. So stand on 1 foot, come up onto your tiptoes, and then down slow. I actually like to do this one with your back to the corner because then it is safer and you can just like bounce off the corner. But we don't have enough corners here. But at home, sometimes you have to close a door to find a counter at home. But I really like the tiptoe one with your back to the corner because then you can work on balance. But this is not a balance exercise. This one is strength. Now stretches. The first picture, she's standing, holding onto a chair, grabbing her foot. Very few people can do that one. But it's on there, but not very many people can do that. The one after that, she's got her foot on the chair, and the words on the top of the pictures are my comments. So on the top of the picture, it says, place a chair in front of you for balance, and place your other foot on a lower chair seat. So you must have something in front of you, and here you can use the table. And then you place your foot on the chair, A lot of times it works better if you put your foot up sideways and then turn forward. And then spin, you gotta spin all the way forward so you're facing the table. Your chair's too close. And you should feel a gentle stretch in the front of your thigh of the foot that's on the chair. So. Like that. Yeah. And it's probably, it may be too high if you've got a shoe on, so this one may be better to do without your shoe on. Is it killing you right here? Yeah. There. So put it back even a little more. Now get your foot up there. Well, you shouldn't. You should only feel that on the front of your thigh. If you feel it elsewhere, the chair is probably too high. So at home, you could use a footstool. Yeah. 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 Do you feel a gentle pull in the front of your thigh? Perfect. What, then you need it even more. Okay. Yeah, then you need it even more now. You should feel the stretch only in the front of your thigh. If you feel it elsewhere, the chair is probably too high. So you need something a little bit lower. A lot of times folding chairs are lower than kitchen chairs. Sometimes an ottoman is what you need. And maybe you need to put a pillow on top of the ottoman if the ottoman is too low. Okay? Sometimes people get a cramp in the back of their thigh when they lift their foot up. And so that's when you have to put your foot up kind of sideways because it's kicking your butt that gives you the cramp. So just be more gentle when you put your foot up on the chair. And then the last one is the stretch for your calf muscles. So you're either back at the table or at a chair. In the picture, the woman is pushing on a chair, but make sure the chair is pushed up against the wall so it doesn't get away from you. But we've got enough here so you can lean on the table. And one foot goes straight back so your knee is straight and your heel remains on the floor. Oh, no, I forgot one. The one I forgot is sitting on a chair and then putting your other foot on an opposite chair. Scoot your butt way back into the seat, and then you feel the stretch on the back of your thighs. There. And you should feel this on the back of your thigh, not the front of your thigh. That should be on the back of your thigh. Toe up to the ceiling. And then the last one is the standing stretch for your calf. So you are standing, one foot is back, your front leg is bent, just like in the picture. You keep your heel down and you lean in, and you should feel a gentle stretch in the back of your calf. All the stretches should be held for 30 seconds and repeated 2 times on each leg. As you are able. Congratulations, you have started an exercise program.
I think that we should give this lady exercise our arms and our elbows. That was marvelous. This is great. We can all go home and do 30 minutes tonight. Actually, some of us will be doing our more than 30 minutes tonight. I want to announce this. Chisago Age Well is in collaboration with the Chisago Lakes Rotary, and they are having an event tonight. that is a benefit, a fundraiser for the Rotary and Agewell. And it's called Taste of Chisago Lakes. And it's being held at the Uncommon Loon. So you can also exercise your elbow. But there will be about a dozen local food people, restaurants, and other food sources and beverage sources who will be offering tasting samples at their tables at this event. The idea is you pay, it's a fundraiser, so and then you get to do that. And it's at 6 p.m. the doors open to start the tasting. At 7 p.m., a magician and comedian, Alan Smola, will perform. At 8 p.m., there will be games and prizes, and those who come can vote on their best taste that they enjoyed at the event, and awards will be announced for the winners of those at the Uncommon Loon tonight, Thursday, February 12th, 6 to 9. But it is a fundraiser. The tickets are $50 a person, and we do have tickets here. Darlene, where are you? Oh, she left. Oh, okay, well then I guess she won't be selling it. But tickets are available, and you can buy them at the door for $50, and it is a fundraiser, and it is a first event in the celebration of the Lakes weekend that starts tonight and goes through Sunday in the area. So if you look in your local newspaper, you will find dozens of events going on. This is one of the first ones. Please enjoy it. It will be at the Uncommon Loon, which is right uptown here in Chisago City, 6 to 8. And if you can, it's a wonderful thing to enjoy and to do. And Chisago Agewell will receive a benefit of it. Ask questions afterward if you are interested. Not only was our speaker efficient, she actually had a clock running on her phone, so she knew when her time was up. So I interrupted your thought process. Grab those sheets of paper where you wrote your questions. Now is the hour. Questions for either speaker. Why don't you grab the hand mic? And then, all right, who has a question? You can just tell. Stand up. Excuse me, say it again. How do you prevent leg cramps at night?
I'm not certain there are, may I?
Give her this mic.
No, here, can I have this one?
Oh, okay, let's do it this way. You keep that one and share.
I don't know that there's anything proven to do that. There are a couple of strategies you can try. One is to do that calf stretch before you go to bed. Magnesium glycinate. There's a lot of different magnesiums. Be careful because magnesium citrate is a laxative, but magnesium glycinate is good. Use the citrate if you need a laxative. But magnesium glycinate before you go to bed, it may be helpful. Or doing the stretch too, that last stretch, the calf stretch, before you go to bed, that may be helpful. And doing it earlier in the day too may be helpful.
I drink cold water at night before I go to bed for that, for cramps, for cramps.
Raise your hand if you have a question. Betsy will bring the mic. No, I don't.
The question I have is are there locations that offer daily or regular exercise classes designed for people 55 and older, other than the Wildcat Center?
You know what? I don't know what is available here. There, you have to watch community education calendars and figure what is there. People have told me that Zion used to have a class periodically. They always change. The available classes and the times and the locations are always changing. So I don't have a specific answer. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm part of Parmalee. I'm from the Empower Wellness Center.
Excellent.
There. And our facility is open 7 days a week. We are open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have exercise classes. We have an 8 o'clock balance class where we focus just on leg strength, fall and injury prevention, and balance. And then at 9:30, we have a silver sneakers class as well. We carry multiple fitness insurance contracts. So if you have that fitness code, it is most likely that our facility is a free thing for you. Yes? We are just getting a Tai Chi class in place. Yes, so just give us a call. We have a number over on the table for the community public health. Just grab our number and give us a call. It's not in place yet, but we are getting it in place.
Also, the Forest Lake, if that's accessible to you, the Forest Lake YMCA has an excellent Forever Well program that has lots of classes that pay attention to this kind of stuff.
Good, thank you.
And one more comment about the exercise, what we measure, we monitor, right? So if you actually keep track, you're not kidding yourself. Did I do those 10 things today or not, or I didn't feel like it? Write them down, see what happens. It changes things.
I have a question on these protein bars. So to supplement the protein that we're supposed to have 120 grams a day, what's your opinion on these protein bars?
Can you read the ingredients on the package? And what are they? The biggest rule of thumb in my opinion, with protein supplements is they are supplements. You still need to get the lion's share of your protein from your meals, from food. And then the bar does not replace a meal. The bar is an addition. So maybe you eat the bar before you go to exercise, but the bar does not replace a meal. It's a supplement.
All right, thank you.
And then if you don't know what the ingredients are, they're probably not food.
So what's your feeling about the artificial sweeteners in things? I know I feel I'm very allergic to some of those sweeteners. My body just swells up like a balloon instantly. I keep telling my daughter to get away from them because that's all she uses.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not food. Our body does not know how to process them. Many of them are carcinogen. Many of them are cancer causers. And everything that ends, almost everything that ends in an OL is an alcohol. And a lot of times, people get really farty if they eat a lot of those sugar-free bars because they have whatever that sugar alcohol is, and our body doesn't know how to produce that. So then we get really gassy. So it so depends on how your body processes it, but it's not sugar, it's not a real food, and you shouldn't use things that aren't food. Sarah's recipes for the flavor boosters I thought were amazing. And they had maple sugar. Our body knows what to do with maple sugar or maple syrup, but look at your label and make sure that it truly is maple syrup and not high fructose corn syrup.
Any truth to anything fermented like pickles, sauerkraut, that kind of stuff? People used to tell me for the leg cramps that pickle juice.
Oh,
And
I
I don't
don't-
know if that's just.
I don't
made
know
up.
about that, but fermented foods feeds your gut microbiome unless you have an overgrowth of methane, which is an archaic, it's not even a bacteria. But for most people, fermented foods are great because they feed your gut and then you can process things better. but I don't know about pickle juice. I knew a woman who put ivory soap underneath her mattress, a bar of ivory soap under her mattress to take care of leg cramps. So, I don't know.
Answer my question earlier. What's the benefit, either one of you, of dark chocolate? Why is it better?
Well,
Repeat the question.
yeah. So the question was asked, what's the benefit of dark chocolate? Well, first of all, with dark chocolate, it has less sugar in it compared to, let's say, milk chocolate. And it also is good for your heart, actually. The cacao is healthy for you. So if you're looking at a healthier chocolate, you need a chocolate fix, I always suggest to get the darker chocolate. You get your fix with your chocolate, but not all the sugar.
Well, I think we all got lots of good ideas to take home and try. Don't you think so? I'm going to try all of these, I think, as much as I can. So, we want to thank you for coming today. I want to remind you that you have evaluation forms on your table, and we do want you to complete them. I'd also like to say that we hope you found it helpful, and I want to remind you that we rely entirely on grants and financial support from the community to provide programs like this and our expo. We invite you to partner with us. Any financial support received today or through our website, chisagoagewell.org, is most welcome and will enable us to continue our informational programs in the future. Before you go, take a minute to complete that evaluation form. You can leave it on your table, or we have a blue basket up here behind the speakers where you can drop it. We do care about what you think. We do value suggestions that you make for future topics or things we could do better. We are interested, if you are interested in becoming part of Age Well, the interest forms are on the table at the back of the room where Victoria is taking photos of us. She's holding up the forms. They allow you to check off what you want to do or what you want to know and provide us with your contact information. Please take a moment to stop by at the two resource tables before you leave if you haven't already done so, and that would be Chisago County Public Health and Chisago Lakes Community Ed and Victoria at the resource table. And last but not least, watch for our next Dine and Discover event, where we'll be learning more about the hidden risks of over-the-counter and online medications. That event will be on May 12th, again at this location. Watch your local newspaper, our website, chisagoagewell.org, or your community education catalog from Chisago Lakes School District for the information, and you'll be able to register through North Branch Community Education as you did today. Not night yet. Again, thank you for coming. Have a safe trip home. Do some exercise. And come to our Taste of the Lakes, a fundraiser if you are able. Thank you.